Man Hour Nation, it's time to get shocked. Man Hour, what is up? Michael Buckeister here. It never ceases to amaze me about how upset people can get about some of the most stupidest things in the world. Now, I'm not saying the Rooney Rule is stupid by any means of whatsoever. I mean, I understand that, sometimes black people get like the raw end of the deal of things. But this particular time in the world, it's really, really upsetting me because people instantly went to the race card when all this stuff went about. And I am talking about the hiring of Kellen Moore for the Los Angeles Chargers as the offensive coordinator. As you guys know, Kellen Moore was fired Sunday night during the Kansas City Chiefs football game. Come Monday morning, bada bing, bada boom, he has a job with the LA Chargers as their OC. Many people are saying that the Chargers bypassed the whole Rooney Rule and all this other crap, yada, 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 and I get it. And instantly, Stephen A. Smith went to the race card. People on our Facebook page went to the race card. There are more qualified people out there that are black, yada, yada. Give me one. Give me one person that is more qualified than Kellen Moore to run an offense in LA. The last 2 seasons alone, the Dallas Cowboys offense has averaged 30-plus points per game. They are the highest efficiency team in the NFL. Yes, they have some clock management issues. Yes, they got some of this and this issue. But you're telling me that Byron Leftwich is a better offensive coordinator than Kellen Moore? You are telling me that Brian Flores is a better offensive coordinator than like Kellen Moore? Shut up with that crap. I am so sick and tired of all this Rooney Rule black card crap. At the end of the day, Combs, it is just a matter of who is the better fit for the job, and Kellen Moore is a damn good fit for the LA Chargers in that offensive coordinator job. And they need a good offensive coordinator. They don't need Byron Leftwich to be the worst running offense in the NFL, the second worst passing offense in the NFL. They don't need that. They need a good offensive coordinator, Combs. And with that being said, cue that intro. Are you ready for the best damn radio show on the planet? Man Hour Nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Starts like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live, all 3 speaks go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckeister here with the Man Hour Show. Head over to manhourradio.com. Check out the merchandise page and check out the blog section as well. Good things happening over there. Takeaway 22 merch is live over there at manhourradio.com. All proceeds go to the Collar Hog Project this month and forever when you order some Take 22 merch. So be sure to head over there, use promo code MANHOUR to save yourself 10% on top of the additional cheap price that we got going over there. But before we get too carried away, we have to welcome the man, the myth, one of my best friends in the world, Brandon BC Combs. What's up, Combsy?
What is going on, Michael Buckeister? What is going on, Man Hour Nation? Man, is it good to be back. I'm happy to be here with you, brother.
It is nice, Like I decided to work like earlier in the day, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, let's throw some cornhole bags around.
Hey, look, I got the Southside Bags jersey on tonight. Southside Bags representing, they sponsor the Man Hour Chicago show. They're all about their Man Hour radio. They promote us all over the place, so I gotta give them some love back. My guy Johnny Torres does a great job over there at Southside Bags.
Yeah, I see him active in it, like in the chat every Saturday that you guys are on, and it is great things happening over there. So right off the bat, we got Jeff popping in with the title segment he says, yes, the NFL is rigged. 100%. We're going to get into that later. That is coming. Big things popping. We got to keep you guys hanging on. That's what we call a tease here in the biz. But Combs, it is way or no way Monday here, and we are going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. We are going to talk about those Cincinnati Bengals. We're also going to talk about Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers. And then, of course, we got to talk about how great this Eagles versus Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl is actually going to be and how many more times we're going to see it in years to come. But let's go ahead and start this off the right way. And, guys, as you guys know, the Kansas City Chiefs, it won last night with the game-winning field goal, 23-20. And Combs, this was a very epic game. I never felt good about this game whatsoever as a Kansas City Chiefs fan. I was just like, oh my God, when are the wheels going to fall off? But luckily, the wheels never really fell off for the Kansas City Chiefs. So Combs, way or no way, should the Kansas City Chiefs feel lucky about last night's win over the Cincinnati Bengals?
So this is a way. And I'm not going to go and say, because, I mean, let's be honest. Let me go at you with a question here real quick. You said at no point in that game did you really feel good about the game or whether or not the Chiefs were going to come out on top. After that game, do you still feel good about how it went?
I don't feel. I feel kind of relieved, right? I feel like a tad bit relieved that the outcome came on the positive side of things.
Yeah, and I mean, you should feel relieved. You should feel relieved that most of the money in Vegas was on the Bengals that night. And, when most of the money is on the Bengals -2 or +2.5, depending on when you took the bet, and all of these things start to happen. And I'm not even talking about the last play, because the last play, they absolutely got it right. I'm not talking about the play where, they miraculously give the Kansas City Chiefs another down. Because you know what? They got that call right too. Okay? Whether you like it or not, whether it seems like it came out of nowhere or it came to help the Chiefs win, that's not the call that I'm talking about. I'm talking about calls like the pass interference call right after that extra third down play. I'm talking about, these guys not allowing the players on the field to determine the outcome of the game. And I'm not one that says the NFL is rigged, because I don't believe that the NFL is rigged per se. I don't think they know the outcome of a game prior to it. I don't believe it's the WWE. Okay. But I do believe that Vegas has a strong hand in determining some of the outcomes, right? And I believe that officials are a part of that source. I believe when you start watching things and you start watching things happen and all of a sudden calls are being made that are never ever called, or things that are never ever done, like giving a team an extra down because a couple of seconds ran off the clock, you start seeing stuff and you're like, damn, man, like what is really going on here? What is, why is there a pass interference called that hasn't been called all game long? Why is there all of a sudden a holding call that negates a touchdown in a game that is decided by 10 or less points when the money is on the other side with the plus or the minus? Or when a lot of the money in this game is on the over at 45.5 points and they are tied 20-20. I wonder what is going on when you follow the money. Now, look, the Chiefs are a great team. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. The Bengals are a great team. Joe Burrow is a great quarterback. I don't believe that you would ever in a million years get players to throw a game. I don't think you in a million years would ever get players to go along with the script. And not only not that, but players after they're, disgruntled with the league to not come out with it, right? Like, that would get blown up in your face. However, when you are paying refs very handsomely to make calls, And to save face, they're not going to talk. This is a pretty damn good scheme that Vegas has going on. And I'm not saying that's the reason why the Chiefs won. I'm really not, Buck. I see you shaking your head. I am not saying that's why I did. The Chiefs won because the Chiefs were a very good team. The Chiefs won because it was a stupid penalty by Joseph Asai, who, look, played his ass off last night.
Yeah, he did.
By the way, played his ass off. He had a great game. He had a great season. The kid has a bright future in the NFL. It was a dumb penalty, but it was a penalty. And so that is ultimately what cost the Bengals the game. It wasn't the referees. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. But when you talk about the NFL being rigged, we got to look at Vegas, man.
Okay, well, we're not talking about the NFL or the being rigged yet. We are talking about should the Kansas City Chiefs feel lucky that they come out with this win on top? No, they should not feel lucky. They are the best team in the NFL, Combs. Like, when you wrap your head around this, hey, make sure your mic is pointed toward your mic and not your laptop, by the way. But when we think of if the Kansas City Chiefs got lucky or not, absolutely not. They did not get lucky. The Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, Combs. The best team won that game. Now, what they should feel lucky about is that when Juju went down, when McCole Hardman went down, when the other receiver, Kemp, went down. When all the receivers went down, they should feel lucky that the Cincinnati's defense didn't realize that until, like, in the fourth quarter, like, oh, let's try double team Travis Kelce now. And then that's when Sky Moore started to show up. MVS started to show up. So, no, the Kansas City Chiefs should not feel lucky at all about winning this game. They are the best team in the NFL. Better than the Eagles, better than the Bengals, better than the Bills, better than your Miami Dolphins or Chicago Bears, whoever you want to call it. They are the best team. Now, with that being said, they should feel also lucky on the other side of the coin that Patrick Mahomes was able to play this game. After this game, Combs, Patrick Mahomes might even be higher than Tom Brady after this game. I believe it was the dude from the hat, Nick Wright. He said it the best. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback, and then it's like Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and then it's Patrick Mahomes on one foot. Do you realize how great Patrick Mahomes played, and he didn't do half of his game? Like,
yes, I
it is amazing.
Patrick Mahomes played great, but you have to feel lucky that one of their best defenders, one of their best players, even last night, made a bonehead mistake at the end of the game to allow you 15 extra yards to get into field goal range.
Patrick Mahomes, they would have got the very next play.
But that's why, well, you don't know that, though.
I do know that.
That's why you have to feel
Patrick
lucky.
freaking Mahomes,
he gifted it to you. You had no timeouts, and there was 8 seconds left on the clock. You don't know that you get it on the next play, and if you get tackled in bounds, we're going to overtime.
Yeah.
So, yes, you have to feel lucky that this man gave you a 15-yard penalty with 8 seconds to go and no timeouts. Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs should absolutely feel lucky.
Yeah, so Jeff said it here best, said they did not get lucky. They are just a better team than the Bengals. Now, the Bengals were on like their third-string offensive line. Chris Jones ate up that offensive line all freaking night. Now, if they were both healthy, it probably would have been the same outcome. Let's just be honest. Just
no, it wouldn't have.
Joe Burrow wouldn't have got sacked like 6 times or whatever it was.
No, it wouldn't have. Joe Burrow would have had more time to throw the ball all night long if they were healthy. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying the Kansas City Chiefs aren't a better team than the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not. I think you could put them as 1A and 1B. I think you're going to see this matchup for years and years to come. This is going to be Peyton Manning and Tom Brady all over again. You're going to see this matchup in the AFC title game so much that we're going to get sick of it. Like that is what these two teams are going to be. You're not going to get sick of it as a Chiefs fan, but everybody else around the world. No. Just like we got sick of the Patriots when they were winning all those Super Bowls and going to all those Super Bowls. You get sick of seeing it all the time because you want to see something different, right?
So I'm going to say we won't get sick of it because the Kansas City Chiefs will not win every time they're in the AFC chip game.
No, they're not going to win every time. The Bengals are going to beat them quite a few times.
This is a truly 50-50.
Joe Burrow was 3-0 heading into this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. He has outperformed Patrick Mahomes in every game that they've played.
True.
Last night, they were just about even. The only difference was the 2 tipped picks that went against Burrow. Other than that, they had about the same completions. They had the same amount of yards. They just Mahomes had 2 touchdowns. Burrow had 1. Like they played dead even last night, and there were a couple of tipped balls that probably don't happen if you're not playing against third string linemen on the Cincinnati's offensive line.
Are you a Bengals fan or a Bears fan? Because you got the excuses piling up.
No, there's no. Look, I already said there's no excuses. Look, Joseph Osai gave you guys a gift at the end of the game. He made a stupid penalty, bonehead penalty. Look, I felt bad for the kid crying on the sidelines. I mean, he was bawling on the sidelines. I like the way that his teammates came to his defense in the locker room afterwards. We could talk about that a little bit later on, too.
Let's talk about that right now. I love the fact that his teammates called his ass out. Like, how do you do that? The kid was 3 yards out of bounds.
One teammate called him out,
and
then
he should have. The whole team should have called him out.
Apologized for it today. His other teammates backed him up and said, "Look, we know you made a mistake." He had one of his captains sitting to his right during the press conference, defending him to the media. That is what teammates do.
Yeah,
teammates don't call you out. Teammates don't throw you under the bus. Teammates will pick you up when you are down. Look. They know how bad he feels. You think he wanted to make that? It was a boneheaded decision. And his rationale actually made a ton of sense to me, right? In a way, because what he was trying to do was catch up to Mahomes and try to force him to move backwards. He wasn't even paying attention to where he was on the field, which is stupid. It's a boneheaded play.
Right.
But what he was trying to do was make him go backwards at some point before he went out of bounds, so that way the clock will keep running.
Yep.
And that's a smart attempt at a play. It just didn't work out for the kid. The Kansas City Chiefs, I'm not going to say that they don't deserve to go to the Super Bowl, because they do deserve to go to the Super Bowl. They were the #1 seed. They were the best team in the AFC all season long. I didn't expect them to be there prior to the season. I admit it. I was wrong about the Kansas City Chiefs. They deserve to be in the Super Bowl. I said if the Bengals play the Eagles, it's going to be an ugly game. I think that the Bengals would roll the Eagles. I think the best matchup for the Super Bowl once the Eagles beat the 49ers became the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes. I'm really excited to see this matchup.
Okay, so let me pretty much just debunk everything that you just said here. We're not smart men, but we're logical men, right, Combs? So when you are running this way down the field, up the field, and I am chasing you from behind, how am I going to get in front of you to send you backwards? That is the most asinine. That was stupid.
I said it was a bonehead play. It was bonehead. What do you like?
No.
I'm not saying you're not wrong. It was a bonehead.
The bonehead play with Lalak is there. The rationale is stupider than the play. Like, think logically, my man. Come on.
I get what you're saying. I do. And it was a bonehead play. But what I'm saying is, the kid gave you guys a gift at the end of the game. I mean, you should feel lucky, because without that play, without that penalty, you're not in field goal range right then and there. You have 8 seconds to go and 0 timeouts.
As a Chiefs fan, I feel more lucky about the punt return with the block in the back than I am that 15-yarder. Well, no, just think about it. 2 plays before that, when Sky Moore returned that punt, there was a block in the back. I will admit that. There was a block in the back that was not called. If Sky Moore does not return that punt for 35 yards, the Chiefs are not at the 50-yard line. Patrick Mahomes does not scramble for that 15 yards with the 15-yard penalty on top of that. We are going into overtime at at that point. Yeah, unless you're a Buffalo Bills in 13 seconds, where's Alpha Rob? But yeah, so I mean, like, I will admit there were some few missed calls, but we'll get into that later in the show.
Sure.
Yeah, Michelle's popping in the chat. She says, "What's going on, Man Hour Nation? What's up, Michelle? Hope you're having a good old night. Sorry to steal your man for an hour here, but hey, sharing is caring at the end of the day. Jeff says, I wouldn't say the Chiefs are better than the Eagles. That's pushing it. Combs, the Eagles have the best defense in the NFL. 77 sacks this season. The Kansas City Chiefs were in second place with like 56. The Eagles are a damn good team. I will give you the defensive side of the ball every day of the week, twice on Sunday. The Chiefs have a better offense. The Chiefs have a better special teams game. That is why I am taking the Chiefs over the Eagles in the Super Bowl, and because of the experience and quarterback back play. Do you think the Chiefs are better than the Eagles?
I think that this is probably the most evenly matched.
Yeah.
I think that I think the Eagles, the reason why I give the Eagles the edge here is because of Patrick Mahomes.
So you're giving the Eagles the edge because of Patrick Mahomes?
I'm sorry, the Chiefs the edge because of Patrick Mahomes, right? Because Patrick Mahomes is a difference maker. Patrick Mahomes is that guy. He's just that dude, and he proved it yesterday. I mean, a guy was damn near playing on one leg, going out there, running the ball, doing what he's got to do to get his team. Now he's got two weeks to heal up an injury that's usually a 4 to 6 week injury that he came back in 4 to 6 days on. Like it's insane what he was able to do. That's why I give him the edge. I don't think they're a much better team. I don't even think that they're that much better coached.
I would give coaching advantage to the Eagles, honestly.
Yeah, I like the Eagles. I like what they do. I think they're going to come out with a great game plan. I think this is going to be a really close game. And I think this will be a game that's decided by 3 points or less.
Yeah, 100%. So Jim, I do see your comment here. I'm going to pop it up on the screen, but I'm going to roll back to that here in a couple minutes because it is about the main topic of the show about the NFL being rigged. We'll definitely bring that up here in a little bit. And Jim, I do see your comment about the Cincinnati Bengals as well, but that is going to translate into our next way or no way of the night here, Combs. So obviously the Cincinnati Bengals, they are going to feel one way or the other, whether the NFL is rigged, whether the refs screwed them in the end. But Combs, way or no way, should the Cincinnati Bengals feel cheated after the AFC Championship game on Sunday?
The Cincinnati Bengals should. I'd be angry if I was a Cincinnati Bengal fan. I really would. I don't know how else you could look at it from that standpoint, from the Cincinnati Bengals standpoint. You look at all of the things that were happening with the referees, the calls that were being made. You have to go back and watch the game, and if you can watch it with an objective eye, like I was, where I have no skin in the game other than I'm rooting for my money to come through on my squares and my strip cards, like. I had no rooting interest in the game whatsoever. And I'm watching this thing and I'm like, damn, how do they not feel like they are being screwed? I mean, there were some points where they put 2 extra seconds on the board. I believe they were down to 19 seconds after one of the plays. They put 2 more seconds back up. And the announcers didn't even talk about it, which we'll talk about later because what a terrible job the announce team did yesterday, at least half of the announce team. And there were things that just happened, like the extra third down play, right? Like I believe that the referees were right in what they were doing, but the way that they handled it was really, really poor. You know, the way that they handled, that, and then the pass interference call later on calling the block in the back and all sorts of things. Like they've got to feel like they were being a little cheated. Let's talk about the rule where the Kansas City Chiefs player, I can't remember who it was,
MVS,
reaches over the first down marker and then pulls it back, right?
Yeah. Well,
they call it a first down. That's not the rule. The rule is if you reach it out and you leave it extended out when you go out of bounds, that's a first down. If you voluntarily pull it back while you're in bounds, then it's not a first down. They reviewed it and still got it wrong. And you've got to look at stuff like that and be like, how does a fan sitting in a high school like I was yesterday for a fundraiser for St. Lawrence High School, watching these games, gambling and drinking beer. How does he know this rule? But the guy who's paid to know the damn rule, reviewing it in New York, doesn't understand the rule. Like, there's something there. And it can't be that they're so stupid they don't understand what they're doing, because they're smart people. That's why they're in the position that they are. But there's something more to that story. And for me, I mean, if I'm a Bengals fan, yes, I'm livid. I'm pissed off. You know, we're going to go all political election here, and I'm going to say that's not my Super Bowl team, because this like, I am angry.
Right. So I see what you're saying, and Cindy and I were sitting on the couch watching the game, and there were a couple times like, well, I don't know what's going on here. Like, I get that, but I did not know. And I'm a high school coach, and I played at a very high level, right? I did not know that reaching the ball out and then pulling it back was a rule. I thought since he reached the ball out, that counted as forward progress, and kind of like when it crosses the plane, right? Boom, the play's dead.
Well,
like,
right.
So
but just like same thing. Like, if you have forward progress, and say you get hit and you go backwards, but they don't blow the whistle, and then you try to gain more yardage, your forward progress starts again from where you tried gaining more yardage.
Yeah,
it's the same idea with pulling the ball back. It's the same idea with pulling back. You voluntarily did that.
Well, yeah, but he was, so when he reached the ball, though, he was already down. So he was just reaching it, like pulling it back.
No, he was still running out of bounds. He reached it out real quick and then pulled it back.
He was in the middle of the field.
He was still getting hit and going out of bounds, and he reaches it over and pulls it back.
Yeah. I mean, so I did not know that was a rule until I think I saw it on NBC Sports or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, excuse me. I definitely know what you're talking about that. But way or no way should the Cincinnati Bengals feel cheated? And I'm not, cheated is a very, very tough word, just because ultimately the Bengals, Combs, they were in positions to win the game. They had 2 or 3 drives that stalled out when it was 20-20 score, and they could not capitalize on those scores. And it wasn't because of offensive penalties or defensive penalties. So it was just flat out they could not block Chris Jones in the end. So as we all want to look at that one play, right? Mike LeBlanc texted me as soon as the Ottawa guy hit Patrick Mahomes like out of bounds. He's like, that was a clean hit. Like, dude, both of his feet were in the white. It definitely wasn't a clean hit. But with that being said, there were other factors in the game that led up to the point to put them in that position. So should they feel cheated? No, they should not feel cheated. But they should feel discouraged, right? Discouraged that they could not capitalize on a defunct Kansas City Chiefs offense, right? This Chiefs offense was very battled, bruised, right? Patrick Mahomes was 50% at best. Wide receivers were down. The secondary in the Kansas City Chiefs were down as well. And somehow they could not capitalize on those opportunities. So I want to so cheated is not the right word to use for them, but they should definitely feel some type of way. Just cheated is not one of them. I mean, because I remember texting you, what was this, the second play of the game? I'm like, Snead's out. We are screwed, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I thought the game was over, and the Bengals could not capitalize on it.
I texted you back and told you that the defense was playing well.
Yeah.
And they were. And that game ultimately was not decided by the referees. Ultimately, it was decided by Joseph Asai. But there's a lot of things that can get you to a point in the game, though, right? If I've got a guy, here, perfect example. I play a lot of men's softball. We had a play at a plate one time where I was called out. I knew I was safe. The catcher knew I was safe. We both kind of looked at the ump. The ump said out. I asked for him to talk with his other umps. Ultimately, they ruled me out. And even the catcher said, man, that was a crazy play. That was in the 4th inning. We lose by 1 in that game. Like that is a call in the 4th inning that stopped us from at least tying the game, if not maybe winning the game. You know, you keep the inning alive. There's still a runner on third. I score. We're a tie game with the go-ahead run on third. Who knows what the guy behind that does? You know what I mean?
If it's Hoffy, he strikes out.
It's actually, he probably hits right back at the pitcher's face or something. But you make a call in the second quarter that allows a drive to continue going, that results in points for a team, that is a part of a 3-point game. That drive led to a touchdown for the Kansas City Chiefs. Take those 7 points off the board, and all of a sudden the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. Like that is the end of the game. No, the referees did not cost the Bengals, but in the second quarter, with the wrong call, they definitely cost the Bengals.
Yeah.
So yes, Bengals fans should absolutely feel some sort of way, like you said, towards NFL officiating. The NFL has to figure this out.
Right.
It's bad. And if Vegas is involved, it's starting to become blatantly obvious.
Yeah, we will definitely get into that later in the show here after a couple more ways or no way. And I'm glad you brought the reffing thing, because that's exactly what I want to talk about right now. Is the Philadelphia Eagles stole 7 points on the field on a 4th down play on a Devontae Smith catch that wasn't a catch that may have ultimately swung the game one way or the other. Brock Purdy may have not got hurt, whatever, yada yada yada. The butterfly effect, right? But Combs, I want to talk about the San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy. Obviously, he got injured, the very next drive, and ultimately tore his UCL in his elbow. Way or no way, Combs, could the 49ers have put up a fighting chance versus the Philadelphia Eagles if they had a healthy Brock Purdy?
Man, I'm going to say way. I'll say kind of way here. I'll go Wayne G on you. It still would have been hard to compete with some. Again, they were another team that got the wrong end of a bunch of calls. That Devontae Smith touchdown was not a touchdown. Obviously no reveal. Even Devontae Smith knew he didn't catch it. You see him over there trying to get everybody to fucking huddle up. That's why he's going like this right afterwards.
Yeah,
he's going like this, running back onto the field, because that's a sign. Hey, let's run this play real quick, so they don't have time to review it. The NFL has to stop that play. The NFL has to stop and say, hey, we got to run this thing under review, because it was obvious to me when they showed the first replay right after the catch. When he did it in live, I was like, damn, what a catch. They showed that first replay. I said, whoa, that's not a catch.
Yeah.
That's not a catch. He lost that ball. Look, ultimately, it was a 31-7 call, or 31-7 game. Does that call really change the outcome of the game? Probably not, but it is a big momentum shift at the time. That was a 0-0 game. It was a close contest, and that was a big play to getting them that first touchdown, to getting them on that roll. I heard an interesting question here in Chicago posed this morning on sports radio, which was, could Brock Purdy have played with his injury? And I don't know what the extent of his injury is. I don't know if they announced it or whatever the case is.
Yep.
Okay, so he tore. So yeah, basically the same injury that Josh Allen was playing with all year. So tears his UCL. Could he continue playing with that? The question that I heard was, do the San Francisco 49ers go to the Super Bowl if Justin Fields is their quarterback? And which posed an interesting question, because you start talking about toughness, you start talking about gamer, you start talking about can he escape pressure and all that. I don't know that they necessarily beat the Eagles. I think I underestimated the Eagles. I had the Niners in the Super Bowl prior to the playoffs. As a matter of fact, I had the Giants knocking off the Eagles in the second round to go to the NFC title game. So I underestimated the Eagles. Even after that win against the Giants, I wasn't really impressed with them. But that game against the 49ers kind of impressed me. Now, look, the 49ers had to play with Josh Johnson. So you have to say, yes, they had a better chance of winning with Brock Purdy as their quarterback. So, they played well with Purdy all season long. They got an interesting decision to make at quarterback in San Francisco. But I'm going to say that they would have had a better chance to win if they had Brock Purdy.
Yeah, so when we think of that play for Devontae Smith, like I've heard many people say, "Oh, the butterfly effect." Purdy may have not got hurt. This may happen, right? Whatever. But you are exactly right. It was a big momentum shift in that game, and it was 0-0 score. It was 4th and 6, and they throw the ball for like 40 yards down the field. It is a huge shift. But let's not forget that Brock Purdy, Combs, was still in the game when it was 21-7. The Philadelphia Eagles were moving up and down the field. The 49ers defense, they had stopped, but then boom, bada bing, they want to put hands to the face. They want to have pass interference. They want to hit a quarterback out of bounds. They were very, very undisciplined. So to say that the Brock Purdy injury was the sole reason why the 49ers lost to the Eagles, no. They were down 21-7 when he got hurt. The defense was playing well. The Eagles were just playing that much better, Combs. The Eagles, you may not have been impressed with the Giants game, but I was very impressed with that Giants game. I thought they got better after Jalen Hurts come back after his injury, just because kind of like when the Dallas Cowboys lost Dak Prescott earlier in the season. We're like, damn, the Cowboys are pretty damn good. They're just a quarterback plug and play, right? We did not think about the Eagles about that, right? When Jalen Hurts goes down, we're like, man, the Eagles suck, right? And then they realize that, and they're like, hey, we got to step up our game. The Eagles are a damn good team. Jalen Hurts is probably the MVP of the league, hands down. And no, the Purdy injury does not hurt. It obviously hurts the 31-7 score. It may have been 31-20 type of score, maybe, right? But
Yeah.
the 49ers were not coming back from 14 points down. They were not coming back from 17 points down. The Eagles are just too good in that game, Combs. It's just no way.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is definitely the MVP of the league. Is Nick Sirianni the coach of the year?
No, I think it's Kyle
Brian
Shanahan.
Dable. See, you think it's Kyle Shanahan? I think it's
Yeah.
Brian Dable. I mean, that team was in a rebuild year,
Right.
and instead of folding and only winning 4 or 5 games like everybody expected to, you were in the NFC divisional round.
Right. I mean, I definitely give you that, but let me make a debate or a case for Kyle Shanahan, right? The first 2-3 games of the season when Trey Lance was the quarterback, were we thinking the 49ers were a Super Bowl team or a NFC championship
Trey
team?
Lance was terrible.
Yeah, no, we didn't think anything about that. And then he goes down, and we're like, oh, my God, here comes a 1-15, 1-16 season, right? But no, they won a game. They lost a couple, and then they rolled off 12 games in a row, Combs, with a backup quarterback and then a third-string quarterback.
They did trade for one of the best running backs in the game, though.
Well,
too,
they were also
so
winning.
That helped.
Well, yeah,
that
but
helped.
I think they're on a 4 or 5 game winning streak when CMC came in, right?
No, they lost the first game with CMC, and then they won every game after that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm mistaken. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean,
so it was a great job by Kyle Shanahan. You are playing with your third string quarterback. You are, doing things, that a lot of other coaches aren't having to deal with all the injuries that they had to deal with. But you're not dealing with the Giants roster. You're still dealing with a pretty damn good defense.
yeah.
The
49ers are probably one of the best orchestrated teams out there right now. Let's just be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely give you that. I mean, I didn't think about that. But let's go ahead and bring this Jeff Newton comment up here. He says, I'm going to say yes to that question. Is Purdy would have stayed healthy, the Niners would have been going to the Super Bowl. Combs, do you think that Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers could have came back from a 14-point deficit in that game?
Yeah. I mean, I do. I'm a big dude. I like Brock Purdy. I really like this kid. I think that the Niners, I really think that they need to build around this kid, and I think they need to give him a shot. But I think it's a much better chance than it is with Josh Johnson.
Well, yeah, I mean, Josh Johnson.
And then
like
Josh Johnson goes down.
Then
Josh Johnson goes down, and they're talking about CMC taking reps under center. Like, yeah. I almost would have went with that game plan. I told the guys that I was sitting with at the table yesterday. I said, you know what? Nobody's thinking about right now is there's no way Philadelphia game plan for playing 3 quarters with CMC as your in the Wildcat formation.
Right.
Why not run with it? Because I think you hamstrung yourself when you brought Purdy back in and they realized that he couldn't throw the ball. Now all of a sudden, all they have to do is stack the box and they're going to stop you. So I think you hamstrung yourself. I think if they would have went with CMC under center, I actually think they would have had a better chance than with any of their quarterbacks under center.
Well, and CMC had a threat to throw the ball, right? I mean, because we saw Brock Purdy throw the ball like 5 yards, and he's like, "Oh my God, my elbow hurts." Right?
Yeah.
CMC has more touchdown passes on the season than Josh Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I almost would have went with that game plan. I was telling everybody that yesterday while we were watching the game. I'm like, man, the game plan with CMC in the Wildcat formation would probably help them out here right now.
Or how about this? Wasn't George Kittle a high school quarterback or a college quarterback or something? I mean, you could have put George Kittle back there.
I know CMC was.
Yeah,
CMC was a high school quarterback, but
there are options. I mean, hell, put a freaking punter in there. Like,
my question is, how do you, with all the guys on your roster, how do you not have a third string quarterback with you?
I mean, at some point, I mean, that'll be their fifth quarterback. I mean, you can only roster 3. So
yeah, but I mean, now when them guys are in IR, you could always put guys up. You got guys on your practice squad. You've got, I mean,
Josh Johnson was already a practice squad quarterback.
Go to the grocery store and find yourself a Kurt Warner.
Well, did you see that tweet by Steve Young? He's like, I'm in the parking lot warming up or something.
Yeah.
But
could you imagine?
Yeah.
Could you imagine
what if they would have won and he would have went to the Super Bowl and won another Super Bowl ring?
Dude, that would have been ultimate WWE storyline right there.
100%. Like you hear like the freaking Stone Cold music, like the grass crumbling.
Break.
So let's go ahead and jump into some shop talk here, Combs, before we get into the title segment of the show here. And Jeff asked a question, and he says, "All right, I'm going to throw out a question. What are y'all options on Texans possibly hiring the 49ers defensive coordinator, DeMeco Ryan?" The Texans need more than a good coach. Let's just be honest about it.
I think, yeah, and not only that, but if you're DeMeco Ryans, why do you do that to yourself? Why do you go to that organization and do that to you? They're going to have to find a young kid out of college that wants to make a name for himself.
I'll be a head coach.
That's what the Texans are going to need. That's what I'm saying. They're going to need one of us to be the head coach. Like, they need something because you're not going to get a bona fide head coach in there. I don't think you're going to get a DeMeco Ryans. Like, why would he do that to himself? DeMeco Ryan deserves a head coaching position somewhere. I would just hate to see for anybody that I like, and I like DeMeco Ryan a lot.
Yeah, I
would hate to see him in that organization, dealing with that owner, dealing with that group. Let's just face it, man. They're not worried about winning. Yeah.
So me and Mike kind of had this conversation as well. Like, he's saying, why is Dan Campbell not getting a head coaching job? Why is Eric Bieniemy not getting a head coaching job? And I put it to him like this. My life is pretty damn good calling offensive plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. We are going to the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in 4 years. Why do I want to go to the Houston Texans? Why do I want to go to the Colts? Why do I want to go to the Arizona Cardinals? I got to build a team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, that is going to take years off of my life. But when I can stay at Dallas, when I can stay at Kansas City, like, I am a coach in waiting almost. However, on the DeMeco Ryans case here, Kyle Shanahan's a pretty young cat. He is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. The 49ers have been pretty damn successful, Combs. They have been to 3 NFC championships in 4 years, including a Super Bowl. barring injury that 2020 season, they could have been to 4 straight NFC Championship games. Kyle Shanahan has a pretty good thing happening in San Francisco. So now if DeMeco Ryan ever does want a head coaching job or an opportunity to move up, he is going to have to take a job like the Houston Texans and prove himself, or like the Arizona Cardinals and prove himself, or the Indianapolis Colts. He is going to have it, and I kind of like it.
I disagree. I think, look, you mentioned one of the teams that I thought would be a perfect fit for DeMeco Ryans, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys with the defensive studs that they have there. He would be a great head coach for there. He could find himself an offensive coordinator to handle the offense without Dak Prescott, because they need to move on from Dak Prescott. Without Zeke Elliott, they need to build that team and that offense around Tony Pollard and around wide receiver. I can't think of his name right now.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. So they need to build around those two guys and figure it out. They need to find themselves a quarterback, maybe Aaron Rodgers, to come out and do some damage for a couple of years with that team while they let a kid develop. I would like to see him in a position like the Dallas Cowboys. You start looking at other positions that might be available. Indianapolis Colts might be a good spot for him too, because at least Jim Irsay tries to win.
Yep, he does.
And so
just not very good at it, but he tries.
Yeah, and they've got a good defense as well. I think he could turn that defense around. So those are some of the places that I could see a DeMeco Ryans going to. I would not want to see him in Houston.
Yeah, only time will tell. But Combs, are you ready for the word of the day?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right, guys, and the word of the day today is rigged. That's right, rigged. And people say that the NFL is rigged, and we're going to dive deep into the situation right here, right now. But before I let Combs try to destroy my non-rigged opportunity here, I want to tell you why exactly the NFL is not rigged, okay? So I did some research here. I got my handy-dandy notepad here, and Blue put his paw print on some clues here. And Combs, the NFL makes $270 million a season off of gambling. That is, bets and other things, whatever all included with that FanDuel deal that they have, right? $700 million here. Right now, only 17 states in the United States, Combs, allows for sports betting to take place. That is 36% of the United States. With that being said, it's about $15.8 million per state. Now, next year and the year beyond that, up to 46 or 47 states will allow online sports betting, Combs. So when you add that $15 to $16 million per state, that adds that up to $870 million that the NFL could, basically start to make off of sports betting, right? And that seems like a lot of money, right, Combs? That means that's almost $1 billion. But guess what, guys? The NFL is a $11 billion corporation. Every year in the NFL, they make $11 billion. If you take that $876 million that they're going to make when 46 of the states legalize sports betting, Combs, that's only $84 million per team. Do you think the NFL teams, the Players Association, and etc., they're going to actually sell their livelihood, Combs, for $8.4 million? Like, come on. That is pocket change to those NFL teams and to the NFL organization. There is no way that, Combs, that the NFL is rigged at all. It is stupid. It is asinine. Why hasn't anybody said something yet? Why hasn't the FBI come and investigated yet like they did the NBA? Combs, there is no way it is rigged whatsoever. Now, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't believe it's rigged with the players. I don't believe it's rigged with the coaches. I don't believe it's rigged with the owners. I don't believe it's rigged with any of that. But like you just said, all of the money involved in gambling plays a part in the outcome and in the officiating. I'm not saying that they determine who's going to win and who's going to lose, but they sure do help some of the bets. They sure do help the numbers, the overs, the unders, the point spreads, that type of stuff. You said it yourself with every number that you said. You said, oh, they're an $11 billion industry. Let me ask you a question, Buck.
Yep.
How many millionaires and billionaires do you know in this world?
Allegedly.
Not personally, but how many do you know?
Oh, there's a lot more millionaires than there are billionaires. That's for sure.
Let me ask you a question. Of those millionaires and billionaires, how many of them have you ever heard of say, you know what, I make enough money, I don't need to make another billion?
No millionaires.
yeah. There is no such thing as rich people who don't want more money. So yes, there is some play when it comes to the numbers. And I'm telling you right now, this is not a script. This is not the WWE. There is no way players are in on this. There is no way coaches are in on this. Jobs are at stake. Contracts are at stake. They are not in on this. But the officiating, with how bad it has been, Roger Goodell and Vegas are definitely in on something. Because there is no way in the world, you, me, 900 million other people watching the NFL sit there and watch this every week and damn, these officials are terrible. This officiating. Every single week we are talking about how bad the officiating is. We saw it on full display yesterday in the AFC and NFC title games. There is no way that somebody in charge of that could look at that and be like, yeah, I don't have to do anything about that. They're okay.
So,
what they are doing is they are going out and they are making their money. They are making their money.
I see what you're trying to say here, but you have reffed hockey, umpired baseball, softball, right, etc. I've reffed baseball. I've done some football at very low level, right? But how many times do you sit there in Major League Baseball season and you see a pitch that clips the corner and they saw like a ball? Clearly a strike, but it just clips the corner, right? And like, ball. You're like, what? We need to eliminate this strike zone. We need this, and this. Referees are humans. They do make mistakes. Now, many people are pointing to that third down play, right? The play that was blowing dead, allegedly, right? The Chiefs ran a play. They got stopped for like 4th and 5 or whatever it was, or whatever, right?
4th and 4, yeah.
Yeah. So basically what happened is the head referee misspoke, and the clock manager did what the referee said, and it was just wrong. The referee on the backside was like, hey, hang on. We need to fix this. And he was in the middle of the field. And I've heard people say, well, why didn't they just let the play stand? Well, because the referee wasn't in the position. Now, you as a umpire let's say you are out of position. Are you going to let that pitcher pitch the ball with you out of position? No, you're not. You are going to say, hold up, time. Let me get my fat ass behind first base or second base or like on the infield, right? Same exact thing there. Now, what people do not understand is that very next play, Patrick Mahomes got sacked for like a 5-yard loss, and the Chiefs ended up punting anyways.
No. Patrick Mahomes got sacked for a 5-yard loss, and they called off a defensive holding all the way down on the other side of the field and gave the Kansas City Chiefs a first down.
Oh, but with that being said, he was still sacked, and then the Bengals got another flag, right? Because they didn't play a very, very clean game. So when we think of things being rigged,
Eli Apple, so I mean, it happens. Eli Apple does it all the time.
Did you see him get basically manhandled by Travis?
Dude, he's terrible. He is the weakest link on that defense. He is terrible.
He is,
and he talks like he is great, but he is terrible, man.
But on the flip side of the coin, where I was trying to go with that conversation is like, people make mistakes, and it just happened to be on one of the biggest stages. We saw a missed NBA call with the GOAT LeBron James, which, usually GOATs get this call, but, foul to in the game. He missed a shot. Game over, right? I mean, people miss calls.
I had this talk with my boss actually last week, and my talk with him was about, look, we in revenue make about $1 million a month for the company. Okay. But we have a lot of mistakes going on right now, whether it's from the sales side, whether it's from the operations side, whatever the case is, we have a lot of mistakes going on. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Your boss is going to make mistakes.
Right.
The people underneath us are going to make mistakes. But you have to be able to limit those mistakes. And when we can't limit those mistakes, when I can't limit those mistakes, you should probably let me go. When the guys underneath me can't limit those mistakes, we're going to have a conversation, and eventually I'm going to let them go. When you're making a bunch of mistakes, your boss is going to have a conversation with you, and if you continue to make them, you're eventually going to make those mistakes. Who is holding these referees accountable? These referees come back year after year after year.
Right.
And that is the problem. And that is what leads me to believe that there's a reason. Because same thing we talked about the on Man Hour Chicago on Sunday. We talked about the Mike Clevenger thing with the White Sox, right? We talked about how, how is it that that the White Sox are still having Mike Clevenger on the roster. And we talked about, the difference between making a mistake and consistently making a mistake, and how, you don't deserve another chance after a certain amount of time. And you're going to lose your job after a certain amount of time. You have to limit your mistakes. You have to hold people accountable. How is it that Mike Clevenger still has a job with the White Sox, and how did they not know about him, being investigated for hitting this woman? I work at a low-level job, right? And then when I go to hire somebody, what do? I run a background check. And what does that background check tell me? Whether or not they have a court appearance coming up. Whether or not they are under investigation for something.
Right.
And I'm not in a multi-billion-dollar corporation like the NFL and Major League Baseball are. The NFL is a multi-billion-dollar, you said to yourself, $11 billion a year industry. You're telling me that they can't find guys better than this? Buck, you and I could go out there with beers in our hands and do better jobs than probably, I would say, 65% of the referees that are out there. Not all of them are bad. Some of them do a really good job.
Yep.
But there are a lot of referees out there that are atrocious. And I would say that the crews that are bad far outweigh the crews that are really good.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of like the stigmatism, like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? I mean, we have 3 good wheels in the NFL. It's just that one squeaky wheel is going to get noticed over and over and over again. But the one situation that I think is really bothersome to me are these expedited reviews. Do you know how the expedited reviews work?
No.
Yeah, me neither. And we talk NFL all the freaking time, and we don't know how it how it works. Let's go back to that Devontae Smith catch. How is that not an expedited review? Clearly a missed call. I feel like an expedited review is an obvious call that is missed. How is that not an obvious call that was missed?
Yeah, I mean it's a tough one, and I don't understand it either. I don't understand how they're not getting that out there, but it's got to be out there.
Yeah,
and you've got to be able to go and do the things to get the calls right, especially in a championship game.
So the one thing that just irritates me a little bit, right, is let's look at college football per se. Though literally every play in college football is reviewed. Whether it's a 3-yard run or an 85-yard pass, every play is reviewed. Granted, it is not. They need to fix it a little bit because college football games are like 5 hours long, which is stupid and asinine. But like, I believe it was the Pat McAfee show that said it best. Do you remember when the XFL was around like a couple years ago, right? And like they had a referee in the sky that was basically replaying every play with like an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller, and he would radio down to the rest like, hey, they fumbled the ball here. Let's call this, like,
right.
Why can't they do that?
I don't know. And again, an $11 billion industry.
Yeah.
Why are they having so many issues doing things that guys like you and me who are way underpaid at our positions and who are doing this, free of charge every freaking night that we do this show? How are we seeing this in an $11 billion industry is not?
Honestly, I can't answer that question. But Jim brings up a great point here. He says Price law dictates that 80% of the work is done by 20% of the employees. So of all the referees in the NFL, only 20% by default make good calls. So if we want to go that route, there are 5 NFLs on a field at one given time. So only one makes good calls at given time. So 1 out of 5. Colmsy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's less than that. I mean, we've watched this NFL. There are so many times where I'm like, damn, man, like this is not good.
How scrutinized do you think the NFL officiating is going to be in the Super Bowl? Like, if they make one bad call, say they miss a catch in the Super Bowl, right? How scrutinized is that going to be?
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be
I mean, there's no way around it now if you're the NFL, and you've got to find a way to get out ahead of this.
Right.
You've got to. I mean, look, you look at that ref yesterday in the AFC title game, the NFC title game. I'm sorry. He was the same ref that made a call against the Bears earlier in the season where he hip checked our player, and you could see him looking at him when he hip checks him, and then he called him for a personal foul for making contact with the referee.
Yeah, I saw that. That was dumb.
So, stuff like that. How is that guy officiating a championship game? Like, that's the stuff that I just don't. I can't understand for the life of me what the NFL is doing, what the NFL is thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. So we have a comment over here at YouTube. Excuse me. SN Worst 3 says, I was a Seattle Seahawks fan for almost 30 years until I started getting suspicious. The first thing I did was read the book The Fix. The Fix is in by Brian Tony. I don't know how to say that last name. Tony? I don't know. But I mean, I don't know anything about this book by any means. But if somebody is writing a book called The Fix is in, probably I'm not going to believe most of it. I'm just calling a spade a spade. Like,
I mean, it depends on who it is. It depends on what he's talking about. I mean, The Fix is in could also be a book about, how it's not fixed. It could just be a catchy title. You know what I mean? Like, there's all sorts of things that could be. I don't know what this book is either. Yeah. I mean, maybe he can elaborate on it a little bit.
Now, if it was about Nancy Pelosi selling Google stock and then 3 days later they fire like 10,000 employees, then we can talk about it. Oh, is that too soon?
Getting all political on me now, Buck. What are you doing?
Jeff Newton jumped in the chat here. He says, who do you think, Buck, would be a good fit in Houston? You know who I think would be a great fit in Houston? Houston needs an old school BS attitude coach, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Saturday. Now, many people are saying, oh, Jeff Saturday didn't go up the hierarchy tree. He didn't coach, position coach or a coordinator. Give me an old school mind. Give me an old school head. Because the Houston Texans have a lot of good pieces in place. They have the border put together of the puzzle. They just need to fill it in. And as much as Jeff Saturday did not win very much in Indianapolis this season, look how hard they played, though, Combs. Those guys were playing very, very hard for him week in and week out. So,
and were they playing hard for him, or were they playing hard for themselves? Like, I mean, I don't know that Jeff Saturday did a great job of bringing. When he was hired, they were still in
a playoff hunt.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a Jeff Saturday guy.
I mean, but like, other than that, like, the 49ers defensive coordinator is obviously a good pick. I do think he will do well.
Ryans, yeah.
But also another coach that I think was kind of maybe fired prematurely is Cliff Kingsbury. I think Cliff Kingsbury could, do well in Houston. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury was the issue in Houston. I think Kyler Murray was the issue, but we digress from that. But yeah, I think Cliff Kingsbury could go there as well. And Jeff Newton says I could see him going to Houston. I'm assuming you're talking about Jeff Saturday, possibly Jeff. I'm not 100% sure, or D'Amico Ryan.
Jeff Saturday going to Houston. I mean, look, that could be a good spot for him.
Yeah, like who do you think would be a good fit there besides Dan Quinn, because he's not going anywhere.
Oh God.
Hey, let's give him a black coach. Let's give him Byron Leftwich.
I mean, why would you want to do that to Byron?
Well, because he is bitching and moaning that he isn't getting any head coaching jobs or coordinator jobs. Well, you have the worst offense in the NFL with arguably the best quarterback in the NFL, and you can't produce like an offense. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just.
You feeling some sort of way right now, Buck?
People today literally freaking pissed me off when they said Kellen Moore was hired because he was white. No, he had the best offense in the NFL for 2 years in a row. Yes, he has a very blah offense. Yes, he had really good receivers and running back, whatever. But who did the Chargers have? Really good receivers and a really good quarterback. Like come on, man.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
I like Kellen Moore. I don't know how I feel about Byron Leftwich yet. I think that Byron Leftwich was one of those guys who just, I don't know. He
was a token hire, Combs. Say it like
not just a token hire. I think he deserved to be a coach and be given an opportunity, but I felt like his successes were there because of Tom Brady.
Okay, yeah, exactly. He was hired the year before Tom Brady came in, right? Who was the quarterback for the Buccaneers the year that, before Tom Brady came? Jameis Winston, when he had like 40 interceptions, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he threw for like 5,000 yards, but he had like 30 interceptions, right? And then the next year, yes, they won the Super Bowl, right? The following year, not very good. This year, the worst offense in the NFL. Like, call a spade a spade. He wasn't a very good offensive coordinator.
Yeah, he wasn't.
I mean,
not at all.
Sorry. And then Jeff Newton says, yeah, he's talking about Jeff Saturday. He likes Jeff Saturday going into Houston. I don't know. I don't even know if Jeff Saturday has had any like interviews like at all, even with the Colts. Has he? Like, I haven't seen or heard anything.
Probably not. But I mean, Jeff Saturday in Houston is a guy who's trying to prove himself.
Right.
That would be a good job for Jeff Saturday.
You know who would be a great head coach in Houston?
Me?
Stephen A. Smith. Get him off of ESPN. Get him like in the trenches and like, man, show me that you're like not a piece of shit.
He's still better than Shannon Sharp and freaking the other clown that they have there.
Shannon Sharp's coming to the Man Hour because he's getting fired from Fox Sports. Did you know that?
Probably. He probably is getting fired, but I don't want. Dude, he come in Man Hour, I'm just gonna make fun of him. We'll bring the mute button back real quick.
Hey, I got it still handy, but send us out, boss.
Speaking of the mute button, we should mute Tony Romo more often.
I forgot.
But until next time,
do you want to talk about that?
Not really. He was terrible. I mean, he was terrible. He said something last night about Patrick Mahomes. He's like, the wizard is wizardry. And you're like, what, Tony Romo? What are you talking about right now? Like, he was terrible last night. He's been terrible ever since he signed a big contract. I think his CTE is starting to kick in.
Yeah, so SN Worst said, I gave you a source and you immediately dismissed it. I'm not sure why you both would entertain the subject that you're obviously not willing to investigate yourself. I tried. Take care, guys. I'm not for sure what you're talking about there, SN Worst. Like...
Yeah.
Did I miss something, Combs?
Yeah. I'm thinking I missed something.
Sorry.
I'm not even looking at the comments. You're bringing them up.
Yeah.
What did he comment? What did he give us? Did he comment earlier in the show?
He told us about the book, and we said we knew nothing about the book. And then he says, I gave you a source, and you immediately dismissed it. Like,
oh. All right. Well, I guess I didn't dismiss it.
Yeah.
I just said we don't know anything about the book.
I am not a very.
I even asked.
Yeah.
I even asked. I said maybe he could give us more information about the book. I would like to check it out.
Yeah. I must have missed the comment. I don't know.
Yeah. I apologize. I wasn't dismissing anything, but you know, whatever.
Casey says Romo makes me want to bash my head off the wall.
Yeah, dude, Romo is terrible.
He's the second best analyst in the league right now, Combs. Behind Chris Collinsworth. Send us out, big guy.
Yeah. Man Hour Nation, rise up.